among, the NFL is a brotherhood, and so obviously that was on our mind this morning, and our thoughts and prayers go out to, his family and the Dallas Cowboys. Um, yeah, it just puts things in perspective, and I don't really want to speak too much more on that.
Nick, when you bring new guys into the building, not the football side of it, but this, I guess, the indoctrinating them into the culture and just becoming Eagles. What steps do you take to make that process work?
Yeah, we kind of have an orientation for that, just to catch them up on everything. Every department, we've been doing that for a while. Every department has different things. Obviously, coaching, with us have different things that we do. And so long process. I wouldn't say long process, but like just an orientation essentially to get them caught up. Our coaches do a good job of that. I spend time with them. My assistant Cole spends some time with them with the standards of how we practice. But you do that. It's not like this is our first time doing that, right? You do that even when you bring a new practice squad guy in. So we've had a lot of practice at that, and but I think the most important thing that we want to stress is a little bit of how we practice, what the culture is, our team rules, stuff like that.
On the field, general overview just of the three guys that you acquired, two corners and Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, looking forward to being able to coach those guys. They have familiarity with different. Every one of them has a familiarity with a different guy on our coaching staff. So which is always really good. That doesn't always happen that way, but in this case, it did. Talented guys that have played a bunch of good football in the NFL, each bringing a different thing and bringing depth to our positions. Was really excited about our roster, how it was, and it's been awesome to be able to add to it, and thankful to Howie for and to add to it. And we're really excited to get these guys going and get them involved, and we'll see where they are at the end of the week and what that means for this game this weekend.
You've been around Howie now for as long as you have, and seeing his aggressiveness in moments like this, has any of that rubbed off on you, or has it changed the way you view the NFL?
No, I think naturally. Probably why I'm here. I have the same theories, same thought processes in that. Yeah, I think one thing I think is always funny is like, at the end of free agency or right at the beginning of free agency, if we don't do something or we don't do something that everyone thinks we should do, it's like, oh my gosh, there's a lot more time to be able to add to the roster. And I think Howie showed that every single year of adding to the roster at different times of really meaningful pieces to our teams that have had a lot of success. And so just grateful to have a partner with Howie of, being the best guy in all of sports as a GM at his job.
What do you like specifically about Jalen Phillips' game? I know you had some success with Vic in 2023. What have you seen?
Yeah, explosive player, able to get to the quarterback, violent in the run game. Can create a lot of disruption, just a lot of how we like to play that position. And so, Vic having familiarity with him is obviously big. It takes away some of that learning curve of, getting ready to go. So a lot of things to like about him. Obviously you do a lot of work on these guys when they're coming out of college, and liked them then, and it's been fun following his career. We were able to practice against him a couple years ago. Really showed some really good things in that. Played against him, in 2023. And so, yeah, just a lot to like about him. Really good player. Getting to know him a little bit. Really like the person. So. Yeah, excited to add him to the mix.
How realistic is it to have those guys up to speed in order to play
We'll see.
Monday night?
Yeah, we'll see. It's everything's different. Everybody's a little bit different. It was nice to be able to get some time with these guys, with a couple days off and be able to catch them up. That we have a little bit more time as far as playing a Monday night game this week. So, and we have more time to decide, who's up and who's down and all that stuff.
You guys had success offensively going into the bye week. How did you make use of that time, and what were the more productive things that came out of kind of some examination there?
How did we use the buy? Yeah, our normal process, our normal process of, of what we go through. There's always things that you add to it. So we worked our days that we worked. We took some time off. Little tradition. Some of the coaches came to my house to do some more work on one of the days off. I don't know if they I like doing that. I don't know if they do. But yeah, just our normal process. Now, I'm obviously not going to get into everything that it is, but it adds and it continues throughout the time that we've been here and throughout our time in the NFL. But like our process there, and we'll see what that looks like come Monday.
What's that day like at your house?
I don't know, normal work day just at my house, yeah. So sometimes my dog's I think my dog was right at Kevin's feet for a long. He must have pet him. It's kind of an annoying dog. Or if you pet him one time, he doesn't leave you alone. So I've learned not to pet him. But I think Kevin did, and I think he was sitting at his feet pretty much the whole time,
So you
begging him
won't
for
be
a
cloning
pet
him?
again. What'd you say?
You won't be cloning the dog?
At corner, would you like to settle into a top three, or is it realistic to mix and match?
Yeah, I think whatever's best for the team, at that, and we'll do. So I don't have a preference one way or the other. All guys bring different things, and excited to have the depth that we have at that group.
AJ, there were some schematic things that you found over the bye week that you don't want to share, but when you did get a chance to review the first half of the season, are there any overarching themes you saw that you would be willing to share, you feel like you learned?
I think we're doing a good job fundamentally across the team, just as far as tackling and catching and taking care of the football, coming after the football, all those different things that blocking. I think that's as general as I could possibly be. But we spend a lot of time on all the fundamentals of football. Those are the fundamentals of football are what make and break every single play. So I like where we are fundamentally. We'll continue, but we got to continue to get better at that. We're not entitled to continue to get better without the work. We're entitled to nothing. Everything we do and everything we have coming to us is earned.
What has Parsons done? You guys see Green Bay in the last season or so. Just what do you see out of that team? What they've put on tape this year, and how they've been playing?
Yeah, I think this is a talented group of guys, both offensively, defensively, special teams wise. A lot of respect for their coaches. I think Coach LaFleur does a phenomenal job. We've always thought that and looked at his offenses and how his teams play from afar, and have a lot of admiration for him and the job that he does. Think they play hard. They play with good fundamentals. They have good schemes with good talented players. So a lot of respect. A lot of good players throughout throughout every layer of their defense. A lot of good players through every layer of their offense and special teams. But like I said, I feel like they got good players with good coaches, and that's why they've had the success that they've had. A lot of respect for this team.
AJ and Saquon both went into the bye week banged up. What can you share about
Yeah, you guys will get an injury report a little bit later today. We'll see how practice looks today. I know that both the guys are working their butts off to do everything they can do to be ready to be available. So
a player that you're familiar with, but you're seeing him for the first time as a Packer. Kind of two-part question here when you think about Micah Parsons. What has he brought to the Green Bay defense this far, and what did Carolina do so well in containing him in their last matchup?
Yeah, Micah Parsons is a phenomenal football player. That can hurt you in many different ways. It just creates a lot of disruption, and I think sometimes you think about it just only in the pass game. He creates a lot of disruption in the run game. Think about a fumble that he caused in our game against them in 2022. It had nothing to do with the pass play. It was a run play, and so much respect to the player and who he is. I can't say enough good things about him. Thankfully we don't play him. We only play him once a year. We played Green Bay twice last year, so we'll see how that goes. But Carolina did a good job of, I know they stayed efficient on first and second down, stayed out of some known pass situations where he can be even more disruptive. But again, like I said, he's disruptive in everything he does. They're doing a good job of moving him around, putting him in different spots. So you have to account for where he is, but it's hard to account for where he is because he's moving around so much. So a lot of respect for their defensive coaches and what they've been doing there. But can't say enough good things about him. He's really good.
What do you remember about Jalen Phillips and the joint practice you guys had down there?
What did Kelsey tell a story about him?
Kelsey?
Yeah.
I don't cover him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't.
I remember that. No, I'm just kidding. And you're just saying in that joint practice, Jeff? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, I remember he stood out for various reasons. I think he also had the specific signed jersey for having a good practice the day before, if I recall correctly.
Oh, I didn't know that. Just again, the disruption that he can create, and it's always good. We really our guys do a great job, with all the good players that we have here, of letting iron sharpen iron. And then when you're able to go against a guy on another team in a joint practice that's doing that too, it just helps those guys, help Jordan get better, help Lane get better. Very similar to how I felt like when we practiced against Cleveland. Again, all those things are great opportunities to help you get better. And I remember thinking, man, this guy can go, and he's big. He's a big. Have you guys been up to him yet?
No.
John Clark was the only one. The one I heard. Yeah. So big, huge dude. Just enormous. Like people will be, sometimes it's like when I meet somebody in person for the first time, they're like, "Oh, you're a lot taller." And I'm like, "Well, I'm 6'3". It's like, but I do stand next to Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. Well, he does the same thing. He towers over me just the same way those guys do. So, again, like I said, just so excited to have him and to get to work with him.
What is your perspective on the season that Lane has had so far?
Yeah, you've heard me say this 100 times. Like, Lane's one of the best players in the NFL, maybe one of the best players of all time at his position. The things that he can do is freaky, and I see him continuing to do that. I love that consistency that Lane has, that he's a superstar football player, and he does it week in, week out, and I continue to see that through the season. So, feel the exact same way about him as I felt about him the last 4 years, and he's having a great year, and we need him to have a great year. He's one of our best players.
All-pro caliber players trying to rebuild their career, whether it was Julio, Shaq Leonard, Robert Quinn. In Jair's case, how do you stay clear-headed about the player you respect from the past compared to the player you have now on the field?
Yeah, again, we obviously think highly of the player that we have now on the field. That's why we went and got him. And so, yeah, you go to work, you practice, you see where he is, and you see how you're going to, what it's going to look like on Sunday. So, excited to get out there with him today and watch him go. Normally I go to all the, the linebacker drills, or I go to the D tackle drills, or I go to the DN drills and really kind of mix into the offensive line drills. But today I'll probably be over there a little bit with the DBs, a little bit more with the DNs, and take a look.
Should he be made available on Monday for a guy who's done so much for the city, retiring, coming back? What's it going to be like seeing BG get out there again?
Yeah, we'll see where he is at the end of the week, but it's been great having him back in the building on a consistent basis. So just, the energy he brings, the smile that he has on his face every day. Still one of my favorite things is to be able to, I remember showing the clip in 2023 of him running down Dak and stopping a 2-point conversion. And it's like, hey, guys, you don't play 15, 16, whatever year he's on now, years in the NFL without all the extra stuff, without all the, talent alone never does get you that far. It gets you in the door, but it doesn't allow you to go as far as Brandon Graham did. So he has all those things that you like to point out in film. Then it's nice to have that back, and just yeah, we'll be, you know, when he gets back on the field, that's always, you know, we're kind of thinking that way now in the sense that he's back on the field practicing. So it's, you know, but when he's able to go back out in the game, you know, that'll be exciting.